Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to the Bursa Malaysia Investor Relations Series 2 for 2026, titled Introductions to Malaysia Forest Fund and Nature-Based Solutions. Thank you all for taking time to join our today's sessions, and to our Muslim attendees before that, Salam Ramadan and Selamat Berpuasa. Today's webinar will introduce the Malaysia Forest Fund, or MFF, and explore how the organization is transforming Malaysia's forest protections efforts through innovative and sustainable financing mechanism. MFF is an agency under the Ministry of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability, or NRES. It leads national efforts to mobilize funding beyond traditional government sources, ensuring our forests, biodiversity, and climate resilience are safeguarded for future generations. We are honored to have with us today our esteemed speaker, Dr. Faizal Mohammad Noor, Senior Director, Protocol Management and Project Delivery, Malaysia Forest Fund. Born in Sandakan, Sabah, Dr. Faizal brings over 16 years of international experience across Indonesia, the Philippines, East Africa, Germany, and Malaysia as a development practitioner in sustainable land use, agriculture, and forestry. He is a trained soil scientist and a nutritionist, and holding a master's in soil science from Colorado State University and PhD in geoecology from Karolo Wilhelmina Technic University, Germany. Across more than 2 decades, Dr. Faizal has served as a lecturer, agricultural researcher, forest and species conservationist, and consultant with organizations such as WWF Malaysia, the United Nations, and the CGIAR. Before we begin, a few housekeeping reminders. We'll have our Q&A sessions at the end of our presentation. So you please type your questions into the Q&A box at any time you wish. We will address them after the presentations during the Q&A segment. Without further ado, I would now like to invite our speaker to begin. Dr. Faizal, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Firdaus, and very good morning, everybody, and especially to our Muslim listener. Happy Ramadan, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. So this morning, I'll be speaking to you to introduce the Malaysian Forest Fund and also explain how the nature-based solution, particularly the Forest Conservation Certificate, which is known to us as FCC, and I'll be using the term FCC in this presentation, and how it aligns with the public listed company sustainability requirements, ESG disclosures, and long-term value creation strategy. Yeah. So Malaysia, as you know, as Bursa listed companies, you operate within a landscape where sustainability performance is increasingly intertwined, yeah, with the financial competitiveness, investor confidence, and evolving regulatory expectations. So this slide showing it to you that currently Malaysia faces biodiversity financing gaps, which is underscore that traditional funding mechanism alone are insufficient, yeah, in Malaysia. This is the data from Biofin clearly show to us that there's short of 1.4 billion in order for us to support forest, not forest conservation, but in general conservation project in Malaysia. As you see as well, like through the traditional funding, we receive around 780 million. This is typical funding you get from the EFT, from the federal government, and maybe through some NGOs. So looking at this gap is not, merely we can interpret it as a challenge, but I see it as a strategic opportunity for the PLC, or public listed company, to demonstrate or step up, demonstrate leadership, enhance transparency, and strengthening risk mitigation. Yeah, in line with Bursa's sustainability reporting framework, and also global investor expectations. So due to that scenario, so Malaysian Forest Fund has been established and approved by the cabinet, shown there on 28th of August 2020, and we have formally incorporated on the 30th of June 2021 under the Ministry of Natural Resource and Environmental Sustainability, or known to many working in conservation field as NRES in Malaysia. Yeah. So our mandate is center on mobilizing finance to support forest protection, conservation, also of course sustainable management. So our work is linger around developing standards, guidelines and procedures for forest-related financing, implementing innovative financing strategies, operationalizations, forest-based financial initiatives, and also drive measurable environmental outcomes. Yeah. So we also um, um, ensure independent verification, robust reporting, and transparent governance across all forest financing mechanism, including those aligned with REDD+, a mechanism introduced under Article 5 of Paris Agreement, under the UNFCCC, or United Nations Framework on Convention of Climate Change. So for participating companies, this means you have access to high integrity data, credible measurement, and strong safeguards, which is a very important element, which is increasingly scrutinized by investors, analysts, and rating agencies evaluating the public listed company disclosures. Okay, so in essence, MFF offers a ready-made national platform for companies seeking high assurance, measurable nature-based contribution that directly support Malaysia climate commitments, biodiversity targets, and forest conservation priorities. Next slide, please. So today I'll be talking you specifically on the FCC, as I mentioned earlier, Forest Conservation Certification. So we have another instrument we call Forest Carbon Offset, but today I'm just going to focus on FCC. So this Forest Conservation Certificate, so FCC, is structured by us as a certification program that designed to establish a strong governance and transparency framework for the implementation of forest conservation activities. It provides formal recognitions of the conservation values and impacts and measurable outcomes delivered by both project implementers and, of course, the contributing organization, which is the donors. Yeah. So unlike traditional CSR, I have to be clear here. This is a distinct difference between CSR and FCC. FCC operates within performance-based, independently verified system that meets the governance, disclosures, and assurance expectations of both domestic and international sustainability reporting frameworks, particularly those applicable to public listed companies. So under the FCC mechanism, participating public listed company will enter a CA, or conservation agreement. Next slide. Conservation agreement with approved project proponents. You see the structure there. Such as State Forest Department, NGOs, or private landowners. So this is also the beauty of the FCC. We not discriminate between different parties in terms of being a proponents. Even private landowners can be project proponents, which clearly outlines roles, performance commitment, deliverables, and compliance requirements. So all activities funded through FCC will undergo independent third-party verification, covering the implementation, completion, and conservation activities. Really strong in looking how you plan your work and how you measure your impact, and compliance with monitoring and reporting. So how you develop your monitoring system and conservation project to ensure that the impact be achieved, the measurable environmental and social impact. So verification is based, as you see there, on 31 activity levels, output indicators, to 29 co-benefit indicators. encompassing areas such as biodiversity enhancement, ecosystem protection, and socioeconomic benefits for the local communities. So the public listed companies reporting under Bursa Malaysia enhanced sustainability reporting framework. This level of assurance aligned with standards expected for ESG disclosure, ensuring that nature-based contribution are credible, reliable, and most importantly, is auditable. Yeah. So in addition to robust governance that we have, FCC contribution are eligible for tax deductions of up to 10% of aggregate income. Yeah. So this enable you or companies to fulfill your sustainability commitments while optimizing your resource allocations. Okay. So from a implementation perspective, the FCC is intentionally designed as inclusive, I would say that, and as a flexible mechanism which recognize a broad range of conservation values without restricting activities to carbon market requirements. Yeah. So this allows for funding of diverse forest conservation efforts beyond carbon-centric intervention. Yeah. Importantly, the FCC will recognize company contribution without categorizing them as carbon offset. Yeah. This enable your company to report nature positive, community positive outcomes such as biodiversity conservation, ecosystem protection, and local livelihood upliftment without making emission reduction claim. So next slide, please. So you see in the map here around the nations, we have projects. I will talk to you about it in short while. So when we're discussing the FCC early progress, I think we launched FCC in May 2024. Yeah, so it's not long ago, but we typically distinguish between implementation uptake and the contribution uptake. Like, we really aware of that, of the project proponents and also the donors. So these terms are often used interchangeably, but they represent two distinct components of the FCC ecosystem. Yeah. So understanding this distinction helps clarify Malaysia current progress, highlights where the public listed company can strengthen their role. So let me explain about the implementation uptake. So this is the supply side. Yeah. So on the supply side, as you see there, all of that it's a bullet, it's a bubble on the map, is actually all our implementers. So implementation uptake refers to participation from organization that I just mentioned that propose, implement, and manage this conservation project they propose. So this includes the State Forestry Department. You can see that, which is in Pahang and also in Johor, and NGOs such as you see that in Sarawak, and also WCS and WWF. You see conservation organizations and private landowners who submit, like SD Guthrie, who submit project proposal and conduct activities on the ground. To date, the Malaysian Forest Fund has received 26 applications from the state agencies, around 29, yeah, 29, the private entities and NGOs. We have approved 9 projects. This is all the projects, and I will briefly explain to you a summary of those projects later on. And we have signed 4 conservation agreements and managed to mobilize 1.36 million in conservation funding. So these projects span important landscapes such as, in the Pahang, there's the Tasik Chini, in Langkawi, Lubuk Semilang, in Bukit Pila, Negeri Sembilan, and the Batang Air in Sarawak, among others. Yeah. So in essence, implementation uptake reflects the viability and credible verified conservation project ready for corporate support. So on the contribution uptake, you will see as well what's written there, such as ByteDance, BDB, CIMB Islamic, and Vantage, and data centers, and we have our partners as well, the Darul Aman Sanctuary and also Penjaga Gunung. So on the contribution uptakes represent interest and participation from companies seeking to fund all these approved conservation projects. Yeah, this is the financial engine of the FCC, very important. So far, MFF has engaged 65 companies, and we have received formal expressions of interest from 13 companies. The defining feature of FCC is that all projects undergo independent validations and review by a panel of experts before they are approved. Yeah, so we have a screening process under our TC committee, and it's also our advisory committee makes that ensure that contribution can have full confidence that each project is well designed, yeah, with rigorously vetted and ready for corporate involvement. Yeah, so bringing together in summary, this implementation uptake is by definition is who is ready to carry out conservation work, and contribution uptake or donors is actually who is ready to fund it. So both must advance in tandem for the FCC to scale effectively. If the missing one component, we stuck. Yeah. So Malaysia already has a strong pipeline. Yeah. We have a registry, and you can check in our website registry for all these conservation opportunities. We already have it in the line. It's a 9 project that we have approved. So the next phase, if I look at throughout our experience in the last more than a year, so the next phase we would like to focus on expanding contribution of this donor and uptake, particularly from the public listed company that are increasingly expected to demonstrate nature-based positive and under the Bursa Malaysia's enhanced sustainability reporting. Yes. Can we go to next slide? So currently we are also busy because FCC. It's not we're not the strength of this FCC protocol lies in its measurable and transparent indicators. Yeah, so this include concrete metrics and numbers of trees planted, such as improved wildlife habitats and enhance community benefits. Yeah, so FCC also was developed not in isolation. Yeah, it is grounded internationally recognized principle used globally for forest protection and climate action, particularly the Warsaw Framework for REDD Plus, and also the Malaysian National REDD Plus strategy. And this alignment ensure that FCC project meet global best practices for forest conservation and, of course, environmental integrity. So you see on the slides here, there's a relevance global sustainability reporting that you can follow here. So today, companies required to report their sustainability performance, as you may know, to meet the expectation of Bursa Malaysia, investors, and global audiences. So the FCC protocol is partially aligned with the major international reporting system. This is including the SSB, Sustainable Accounting Standard Board, and of course the UN SDG, and the TNFD, which is a task force for natural related financial disclosures. So in addition, MFF is currently undertaking the UK PAC study supported initiatives to further enhance alignment with this global framework. So I think we keep on improving so that this in the future will be relevant for the future. So this is to ensure that companies receive high quality, globally recognized impact data when they support FCC project. That's the most important thing. So for example, contribution towards restoring wildlife habitats. Yeah, if you have a project such that improving water catchment or related to improving ecosystem services, this can be directly linked to SDG 13, climate action. It's also 15, which is life on Earth. So because of all FCC project, undergo independent third-party verification, so companies can confidently, I assure you that, to report these outcomes with strong assurance. And increasingly important point, as investor and the public demand credible, substantiated environmental claims. Yeah. So in summary, next slide, please. So these are some of those 9 projects. I'd like to share you a little bit about it. So we have this enrichment tree planting program at Tasik Chini in Biosphere Reserve in Pahang. These are, I think it's quite interesting restoration because it's involved rehabilitation, because it's ex mining bauxite site mining site, and so the yeah, we have screening through all the activities that wants to be taken here, and it's I find it's quite interesting. I think this is one of the next project that we will have a big chance to be approved with contributions from donors. And then we have ongoing project at the moment, which is the BDD project in Ulu Semilang, forest conservation, improvisations of Darul Aman Sanctuary. And this is the base for the core of this project is actually to develop ecotourism in the area, to have sustainable financing to the forest area in that area for long term. And we have also the preparation for the forest management plan for federal forestry department. So this is also partly trying to improve quality living standards, and looking differently into the existing forests around us here. If you care, you see it. There's so many patches of forest, and not just being neglected like that. We have proper management of that forest. That affecting the rural, the local communities. So this project also we have approved, and we have a project of turning ex-rubber fields into living ecosystem. This is the area that has been uh, SD Guthrie is thinking to restore back into forests. And we also have projects like Penjaga Gunung. This is ongoing project, I must say. We have on the 30th of this month, yeah, we will have launching official launching of this project with the Crown Prince of Selangor will be there. And it's quite interesting project because this is how we see how we contribute directly to the local community, and conservation awareness, and have a long-term impact to the community by through capacity building and making them malim gunung. And then we have a project in Sarawak which is a species centric of a black species orangutan in Batang Ai. Landscape is quite interesting as well. And then we have HCV approach project, which is like training all the local community, and also concessions holder of a logging area, that so they can have in-depth understanding about appreciating HCV or high conservation value areas within the concessions. And we have also a connectivity project in Ladatu, which is connecting fragmented forests, and to improve wildlife movement between patches of forest to a bigger population, so we can have a more diverse genetic viability for the species. And also we have the surveying. We also pay for surveying, mapping, and maintenance of the new gazettement of a new forest area here. So you see there, I mean, like we mobilized around 1.36 million in the last 1 year, and then our target is actually to be able to raise around 30 millions. So so closing, so FCC protocols, yeah, we provide this robust, credible mechanism ensuring that conservation projects are implemented properly. I must say, this is certification scheme. So we're looking into from papers how you develop your project, how you implemented it, and how you're going to measure your impact towards your goal. So we are measuring using a clear, globally aligned indicators. I've mentioned we have 60 indicators. Undergo independent verifications. That is very, very important. This is also about transparency, and trying to avoid greenwashing and stuff like that. And also produce results that companies can reliably use in their sustainability reporting. So in short, the FCC offers company a trusted, transparent, and internationally aligned pathway to demonstrate real, measurable contribution to Malaysia's forests, and to local community. So my closing remark: the Malaysian Forest Fund, yeah, we remains committed to building a high integrity, transparent, and impactful financial ecosystem for forest conservation. The FCC serves as a national mechanism that connects government priorities with corporate leaderships, offering the public listed companies a structured, independently verified platform to deliver meaningful, measurable, nature-based outcomes. So, as Bursa Malaysia and global markets continue to elevate expectation surrounding sustainability performance, companies that invest early in a credible, high assurance nature solution will not only enhance their ESG positioning, but also establish themselves as leaders in resilience, responsibility, and long term value creation where you operating, taking care of your home. So thank you for your time and attention today. So if you have any questions or would like to explore opportunities for collaborations, we would be pleased to support you further. Thank you so much for listening.
Doctor, actually, I am checking on the Q&A box. I see
No
no.
problem.
Oh, actually,
Go
we
ahead.
have one.
Okay.
So there is a question from anonymous attendees. What is the time horizon for the funding of 30.2 million ringgit?
Well, there's no time for that. I mean, like I said, we continuously will explore and improve how we engage the contributors. Like I mentioned earlier as well, on the 30th of this month, we will have a big session with all the participants, which mostly are contributors or donors. And at the same time, we will have like all these people that are project proponents that have their project approved to be there. And we're doing pitching. Yeah. So these project proponents will themselves will talk to the donors there. So we have that session. So we keep doing like all this yeah, trying to encourage and stakeholder knowledge development for them to really understand what we're doing in Malaysia, and really understand all these benefits that I just mentioned just now and how we're doing it. So usually, like looking at the time frame, if you ask specifically of the approved project, we keep close to our project proponents. We have a very close relationship with system. I would say we look at 6 months, okay, to 1 year.
And
Yes.
then there's another question. Will the contributor be allowed to choose which project they want to fund?
Of course, like yeah, you will choose. You can check in our registry, and based on your preferences, based on the geography, some donors is actually interested way they're operating within your landscape, and they like the impact to be there, and they can see it, they can feel it, and you can do that. And then some donors is actually will prefer, yeah, based on the yeah, I mean, geography, it's also like your pillars. For instance, what is your focus in your company? Some is actually more interested to look into like what the project contribution to ecosystem services, and some companies will prefer like if they involve in the food production, maybe they take such as raw material like oil palm. They would like to do like biodiversity protection, like orangutan. Like usually, like big companies really like that. So yeah, you can choose, and to align that with your company interests and focus or pillars.
Okay, the next one, Doctor. There's a questions coming from Ikmal Abdullah. He mentioned, thanks for your presentation, Dr. Faisal. He noticed that 9 projects have been approved and his group operates in Peninsular and East Malaysia. Out of curiosity, are there any plans for Terengganu?
Of course. Actually, yeah, we have done some engagement. I apologize if you're not engaged, but maybe we engage Terengganu, but we have done some carbon stock assessment and all this thing through the state government, and we're doing that. So We are. And actually, if you proactive, you check out our website and check out our template of proposal submission for FCC. We not don't wait for us. You can always just contact us personally. You can contact me. You can send email to us if you want to discuss about, pre-discussions about your project you have in mind. Or you can also try to fill up the project template proposal, and you can discuss with us, preliminary discussions is also can as well. Is no problem with that. We always willing to serve that.
And then
Terangganu was close. Yeah.
does contributing help with the CBAM of EU, Doctor? If can, how does it work?
Yeah, the CBM, the concept of biodiversity. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I
CBAM.
mentioned earlier, FCC focus on three things: is biodiversity conservation, and ecosystem services, and of course, it's not perfect without community supports, community benefits. So it does align to all the CBD I mentioned just now. It's aligned to the WASO protocol and SDG and all these things. So, but yeah, some of those principle and criteria, which is within the CBD, is aligned with our FCC principle or protocol criterias. Yeah.
And then there's a questions mentioned if PLCs contributed and involved in the project, can they have their staff to join the activities
Yes,
for
yes, the staff
PLCs?
can join the activities. By the way, our project in Langkawi, the project proponents themselves is also a donor, so they have their own team to implement the project.
All right. And then there's another questions asked if we have existing afforestation project site, are we able to adopt the protocol through collaboration with MFF?
Oh yes, yes, you can. But as we have to take a look at the scenario or applicability conditions, because sometimes your project is already done. So basically, when you do FCC projects, you need to develop new program to further improve the same area, maybe, or new areas. So if your project halfly done, like you have ongoing project there, we can evaluate what more activities that you need to complete that project, and we can start from there.
And then how if is the GHG offset amount be accorded to the contributor in the case of afforestation projects?
Can you repeat that question again?
How is the GHG offset amount be accorded to the contributor in the case of afforestation projects?
Yeah, so to answer that question, FCC is not a carbon generating scheme. Yeah, it's not the instrument for that. Carbon offset is a different structure, and it's this not totally FCC. It's for uh, improve the ecosystem condition, but it does relate it. If you ask, like, it does relate to climate action, because if you think about improving ecosystem, it creating a resilient ecosystem. Whatever you do on forest restoration, you sequester carbon, you also improve biodiversity in the area. So we can say that your ultimate goal of your project is to create a resilient ecosystem. So by saying that, towards climate change, so it is that way. But FCC is not; it's a non-market instrument, so it does not involve in carbon generating.
And then there's a request from the audience, Doctor, to please share and elaborate the metrics of the quantifications of the FCC on nature-based disclosure in ESG sustainability reports.
Can you repeat that?
Please share and elaborate the metrics of the quantifications of the FCC on nature-based disclosure in ESG sustainability reports?
Oh yeah, so yeah, this all the indicators basically, So we have a specific indicators of project, which is 31 as said, and there's another 29. So when you develop a project, we will unpack what is the relevant indicators, and those are the metrics that you will measure, and those are the results that you the outcomes that you would like to measure, whatever you monitoring system. The result of those, which is related to the impacts or the end of the project or your project, will be the key indicators that you will be using on your statement or sustainability reporting. All those indicators.
And then from this one, Doctor, I will combine these basically questions in the Q&A box and also from Mariam Kade in our chat box. So is there a minimum donation amount, and what is the minimum and maximum durations of the conservation agreement?
No, there is no limit to that. We have a range of 300,000 to 50 million that people asking from us. So if you look at how we address that, like FCC is also allowed for pool funding. So one project can be supported by two contributors or donors, and we will work with the project proponents how to separate that. Like I said, it's depending on the donors preferences, which project activities that they would like to support. So we clearly define that in our presentation back to them. So in terms of if I look at, but it's good to be logic, yeah, because I must tell you this. I must be very clear to you. This FCC project program is an impact program. So developing the impact program conservation work must based on a logical framework. Okay, so when it comes to logical framework, there's a way we evaluating this. So your program, which leads to activities and output and outcomes, will reflect to your budget. So please be careful when you're budgeting, because we are very, very rigorous in looking into this before we approve your project. So it's really good to have a logical framework. Logical framework will determine as well how you're creating your budget. So if we see project that is actually like asking like 100 millions and everything, it will raise questions. So we will look into that, and then we would like to to face the project so that it's manageable, because we also look into your capacity, how you implement the project. So all of that will play a role in terms of approval of FCC project. But to answer your question, there's not, depending on the scale of the project, the amount that will be fitted in, matching into that project.
And I think this is an interesting and popular question, Doctor. How would one benefit from the tax exemption? How does that work?
That works like it's only applied to the donors, yeah, to the contributors. The 10%, up to 10%. I must say up to 10%, because it depends on how much you give in. So if your aggregate income's like 1 million, you're giving 100,000, so you have 10% from 1 million is 100,000. So, and then but it's still has to consider the tax department looking into that. But we will be the one that's submitting those report to LHDN to enable you to claim that 10% tax reduction from your aggregate income.
Sure, Doctor. And then there's someone asking from a PLC perspective, what's the benefit for PLC to invest or contribute if there's no direct return or recognized GHG offset?
Yeah,
Is it
so I
mainly CSR? Is it mainly
no, the
CSR?
CSR, like I said, a good question. This is a good questions, because I mentioned clearly, and I have to be clear again. CSR and FCC is very different. So I would say that CSR does not have a robust monitoring. It's also they focus. I always say they focus on input orientated. Yeah, donors is always just But without this strict governance, without a strict monitoring and third-party verification, CSR can be, we sometimes heard CSR project that actually just vanish into thin air. But through FCC, your project will be verified by third-party verifications, and you have a system of governance. And we, MFF, will ensure you have you can do minimal, and especially on management of the verifications and the monitoring. MFF will assist on that. It's better than CSR, which like there's a lot of operational risk because you depends solely to the implementers through your donation. So what we offer is indirect benefits to PLCs, which is one, it will improve your portfolios and recognition by investors. And then, of course, you can use the data generated from the FCC on your statement or sustainable reporting to Bursas. And also, I think, yeah, all the data that is generated through the FCC project is verified and verified and legit, I would say, and so you don't have bias in terms of your claims. Okay, so I think that is the indirect benefits for the public listed companies.
Thank you, Doctor. And then I think there are a few questions asking about how can they contact you guys for the collaborations. I think will drop an email or MFF email for them for the participants to contact for
Yes.
further questions and further discussions if required. And then I think we'll take three more last questions before we end the sessions today. This is a question on, is there a minimum amount of land that can be listed as a project area? And then what is the maximum durations of the conservation agreement, Doctor?
Okay, so I think to answer that questions, Malaysia pledge minimum. Malaysia will like to retain 50% of Malaysia under forest cover. Yeah. So if we think that Malaysia has those kind of assets, which is nature, which is forest, 50%, there are abundance of projects that we can fill up our pipeline for conservation project, which will be available for you. So that is something that we see our scale up in MFF, which is basically Malaysian asset, which is our forest. Yeah, there's a lot of that can relate to biodiversity, ecosystem services, and functions, contributions to local community, and everything like that. Yet you can develop a project. So the second question is about the timeline. Yeah. So the timeline of the project, is that really the timeline of the project you want to know?
Uh, she's asking on
Yes.
the typical durations of the conservation agreement and what happens
Okay.
after it expires.
Okay, so yeah, so the typical, I mean, it's no time really. It's some of it depends on your project, the nature of the project and activities you want to do. So I can give two examples. So a straightforward project, like I mentioned, project in Hulu Sedili. It's about new gazettement of forests. Basically, the activities is just trying to confirm or endorse the perimeter of the area. So there's no further encroachment. We support that. And then the building like fences and all these things, we support that as well. So that project will take a year or probably like a little bit more than a year. But if you think about conservation projects such as tree planting program, yeah. So please remember, like tree planting program, if under FCC, it's not just simply a planting tree activities. Yeah. So as I mentioned, it will go to robust monitoring, and we would like to know the impact of that restoration that you do. So in this case, if you look at it, restoration project, just think about you planting trees. After you planting trees, probably in a year, and in a year, some trees is just probably about your waist height, some trees about your chest height, and that still have a tendency to probably die out because open environment is so cruel. They will swarm your trees and everything. So you need probably 3 years after that of maintenance costs to maintain that planted trees. So that is 4 years already for restoration, including your process submission of approval or proposal and everything. So I always say, like, easily optimal restoration program, conservation program will be about 4 to 5 years. So it is really depending on your activities and program that you would like to do in your conservation project. So you
Thank you.
must be an expert as well in the end to come up with that proposal, because you need to understand your stuff and how you implement that project. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Doctor, I think with that, we have answered and we have covered most of the questions. And I've dropped the corporate My Forest Fund email in the chat box for everyone if you have any questions or you are interested to collaborate with MFF on this initiative. So with that, as for the presentation slides and this webinar recording, we will usually upload it onto the Bursa Malaysia IR4U site. And with that, we would like to thank you once again to everyone for joining us today. Please stay tuned as more programs and webinars are coming under the IR4U banner throughout 2026. And Dr. Faisal, thank you so much for your time, Doctor. It's a
Thank you so
really
much.
insightful
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah.
And
Thank you
thank
so much for
you to
listening,
everyone. Yep.
everybody. Yeah. Wherever you are. Thank you. Bye
Thank you,
bye.
Doctor. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi
Waalaikumsalam.
wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.